with the current economic situation we have, the quagmire that we're facing, sincerely, Tinubu destroyed the economy. Tinubu destroyed the economy because Tinubu is a person who got into government and he didn't have plan, he didn't have policy, he didn't have programs. I think he thought that government would have been, conducted through his whims and caprices, where he dictates whatever I say become a policy. But it was a developmental expert. I know that you need to look at the impact assessment of every policy that you take and how it will affect the downtrodden, the lowest of the people in the society. You don't just take policy because you felt, oh, you have now assumed power or the authority of the president. Then look at the very hasty, the very irresponsible manner in which the subsidy was removed. That day, you can fact check me any day, anytime. The filling stations increased their cost of transportation by almost 300%. And that's to do with those who earn 100,000 who stays in Yanya, those who earn 100,000 who stays in Kuwa, who have to come to work, those who are in Gwagwalada who are working in Wusetu, who have to come to work. And that also drive into how much they can save. And that cost of transport affected the cost of goods and services. Because if you look at transport is a very, very important system within the economic structure of any society. Because when you increase the cost of carrying a basket for tomato from just when it was 500 naira to 3,000, you know what will affect? They will transfer that cost to the end user, to the consumer, which will now bear the burden of such skyrocketed cost. So his removal and his policies had no human face. He wasn't looking that there were masses in this country that have to survive after he does whatever policy removal he was going to remove. And that policy hasn't worked. That policy has failed because the essence of the removal of that policy was to be able to free resources for not paying the level of trillions we pay to people who take our money and don't supply the crude, who overinflate the level of consumption of PMS or whatever the PMS we consume within our territorial framework of a country. And that has not worked because that money was not free. That money is not available as we speak. It's not helping Nigerians. We are borrowing more. We are spending. We are in the quagmire about our resources. Our budget is about 30 trillion. Having 30 trillion shortfall. So we have a challenge that whatever decision the president took in the removal of subsidy have not translated to a better standard of living for the people. It has even made life more difficult. And for me, I think the president did not, sit down with his people who are expert in management of economy to be able to do what is right. So this economy nosedived because of his, hasty policies, because of his unplanned policies, because of the impromptu nature, which he announces policies as if they depend on his own ego for such policies to be able to drive and bring food on the table. You can't be talking about GDPs. You are talking about all sorts of things where Nigerians are hungry, they're impoverished. Look at the number of people who are out of school. Look at the people who are hungry. Look at the Action Aid report of 18 million young Nigerians unemployed. So what has it done to be able to make the economy a robust economy? Nothing. So nothing so far. You talk about security. I saw a video just now coming that there are communities in Kogi State where I come from, in Okunland, that they have relocated. They have left their community. They have left because they can't. About 40 people were kidnapped from those communities, and there's nothing being done. The security agencies have no capacity. He talked about recruiting more police personnel. You can look at all the flip-flop of his policy. None has been executed. The policemen, we are not seeing them. The recruitment process, we are not seeing how effective it is. Look at the policy. He said, "Oh, I will till 500,000 hectares of land, for farmland." Nigeria is one of the most fertile arable land. About 34 million arable land. That is fertile. That could be used to make. Look at Niger State is about 76.3 square kilometers of land. Kogi is about 29,000 square kilometers of land. Most of these places are ungoverned. People call it ungoverned area. I don't call it ungoverned. They are unused, vast, potentials that have been abandoned by government because government have become lazy, especially this Tinubu administration, only waiting for oil revenue to be able to run an economy. And there's no part of the place I'm looking at, security is not working. The children that were kidnapped in Kwara from the Catholic schools, from Niger, from the Catholic schools, are still in their kidnappers then. Oh, they say, they are speaking with them. You are speaking with kidnappers on what terms? You are having deliberation with people who have picked up children and telling the parents of the children that the children are doing well. I don't know the kind of things that come to the minds of those who manage our security architecture, where the national security advisor of this country will tell citizens whose children have been kidnapped and say the children are doing well. In the forest or where? Do you know where they are? Have you seen them? Why are they still there? So this challenge about people just talking and thinking that they are doing us a favor, God, you are beholden to us. We are not beholden to you. We have 230 million population. You want the one who want to be in government. You are in government, so you should not expect that we can't question you. You should not expect that the opposition should not exist. You should not expect that the constitution should be, strapped around with bandage and put under the bed because you are president. We're not living on your own authority. We are living on the authority of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as 1999 in the 5th Alteration as amended. So we must speak and look at holistically the performance of the government. If I want to rate him on security, is 1/10. If I want to rate him on economy, people are suffering. I don't know why we want to pretend. I have relatives. I go to my village. Now people can't travel. Nobody's traveling. The whole road, before it used to be cornered, before he came to office, I don't think the level of kidnapping in Ekiti, in Kogi, in Kwara, and Niger were there. So you want us to just wake up and praise him for doing nothing? That's why I asked those people in government who asked us, "Whoa, why are you talking?" I said, "No, you were in government. The buck stops at the table of the president. And if the president knows what he's doing, he cannot say one thing and then we see another." He told us that they have met out of the non-oil revenue that they generated and have surpassed their target for revenue generation. And then the finance minister came some days ago and said, "We're having 30 trillion revenue shortfall." So what kind of flip-flop are we living in a society? Look, if you live in any civilized society, today, the Tinubu would have been having challenge because none of these things are, none of the people in his policy process are coherent. When he talked about, the wife said, "We are no longer going to be borrowing. Going to 2026, Nigeria will be giving money to other nations." If the husband is requesting for more loans all over the world. So look, as an economist, I'm not against people borrowing money. There has never been a problem. As a businessman, you could borrow, channel your money into investment, use it, make your profit, and repay your loan. Our loans have become burden. We take this money, we don't see this money, whether they are stolen, whether they are effectively used, is a problem. And then we have, for the first time in the history of this country, let me tell you the truth, it is the first time I'm seeing that federal government are taking up projects without the involvement of the National Assembly, without appropriation, which is even a crime under our law. Tell me which appropriation brought Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway? No appropriation. It is by presidential fiat. Tell me which appropriation brought the International Conference Center, where 39 billion was spent for the renovation. They said it is presidential asset. Without the National Assembly making laws for it, we have 3 arms of government, and we have merged it into just having the executive. Because that is the challenge. You can let them, the Akwa Expressway, they should show me where the National Assembly made appropriation for such expenditure. We're in a country right now that people are spending our money without following the regulatory framework that has been established over the years. We cannot kill democracy in order to build ego of those in power. We must be able to sustain democracy so that the children yet unborn will have the ability to participate in an open, fair environment where their voices will continue to be heard.
On the issue of anti-corruption, how will you rate it?
I really, corruption is one of the major problems of this country. It's why Nigeria is crawling. I think, first of all, I will tell you, because there's a platform for, that was from the budget office that you used to review government expenditure, that you used to see how government spend, how government generate. There's that platform there. It has been there for the past 15 years. The budget office shut it down under Tinubu. You can access it. That platform has been shut down. It's not online. So how do I rate it? That is because opacity drives corruption. Lack of transparency leads to non-accountability. When the government is not accountable to its people, where we can't track your spending, where we can't look at the, your borrowing statistics and see it on a real time, then there's something hidden. Because if you're not transparent, how do I expect that you are not corrupt? These are questions that I asked a lot of my friends. That platform has been there, managed by the budget office. It was shut down. It ran for 15 years uninterrupted. In fact, there was a time under Okojo-Iweala, under Jonathan, that we know how much government is, how much local government we're getting. They publish it in the dailies. So transparency leads to where people have confidence in public, in governance, and leads to, people building confidence in public funding and funding expenditure process. Today, what we have, there's no transparency. If you talk about the fight by, people say ICPC, EFCs is working. If Dangote had not come down to push them for Farouk, they won't be aware. They are waiting for federal government, to tell them where to point them to. We are talking today. I used to tell people, even Malami, I used to tell them when they were in office, when you are in office, no matter how juicy that office is, what you should do is to make sure that the processes respect constitutional procedures. that you do not do anything to undermine our constitution, to organize our regulations and guidelines for management of governance in Nigeria, because you will leave. That template that you have used to misuse, to mismanage our constitutional activities and power will also be used against you. So that's my problem. But I do not think that because one frame, fell short, you have to use that frame to forcefully put it in another frame in order to be able to justify that those before you were wrong. No. If anti-corruption must work, we must see that the level of money used for budgeting process, for expenditure process, are properly tailored to the welfare and direct benefit of the people. We have Shintanko Road. Shintanko Road is from Kogi State. How much has been released for that project? So we need to ask, why are you getting the funding for the local Calabar Coastal Highway? How are you getting? How are you spending it? See, these are all the challenge. Oh, I saw the minister talking about that the Calabar Coastal, a lot of people are private entities are willing to take it over and then be able to tow it. We told you from the beginning, don't go on white elephant chase, elephant project that you cannot fund. We know it was just a political arrangement for 750 kilometers of roads when Nigeria has federal highways that are not motorable. Because when you try to build something, you look at the architecture, the structural arrangement that is in place, and see that how it has helped to move goods from south to west, from west to north. Why not repair those ones, make them motorable? Why we now try to go on whatever adventure that we intend to go on? So public spending must be prioritized in a way that will make poverty, that will bring poverty reduction, that will remove waste. Because there's so much waste in our government. That's why I told you I always believe I wanted people to be nothing special. I'm from the same zone. He's an Igbo man. I'm an Igala man. But we wanted a situation where we have somebody, first of all, that will have pay attention to responsibility, that will be able to cut the cost of governance. The cost of governance is over the roof. Look at their recurrent and never. You see that they are just spending on wasteful items that will never have direct line on the people. Which are the schools that built since they came? Let them show me the schools they are building across Nigeria. Let them show me what they are doing to help education stand. Look, we have federal medical centers across Nigeria. We have national teaching hospitals across Nigeria. Go and look at their budget. Go and look which one have they done. It was under Abacha that the national hospital came on board. National hospital was fantastic at the time it was built. I was in Abuja. I went to look at it. We had friends who were doing course at the International Institute of Journalism, foreigners, who also wanted to see it. Today, where is the dream? You look at the third mainland bridge. That repair was done by Buhari, running into billions of naira. Today, they say they are doing the same thing or the same repair, and there's no budgeted provisions. Challenges is that I cannot believe at this moment that this government is genuinely fighting corruption. That this government is really working to be proactive enough to put checks in place to be able to stop the waste that we see in our government cycle. I don't believe it until I see it. I can't be forced to believe what I don't see.
All right, let's look at this current trending issue between the tax reform that was assented to by the president and then a different thing being circulated by the Minister of Information. It came out yesterday from the House of Reps, and they are saying what they passed and gave to the president to assent, and what the Federal Ministry of Information is circulating is entirely a different thing. And they are calling for the suspension of implementation of that law. To you, how would you look at all of this, and what does it say about governance and our leaders and the people?
I'm heartbroken by the actions of the National Assembly. In a normal civilized society where democracy, where the rule of law, where check and balance work, today they should have invited the president to the National Assembly at the joint sitting. This is not about Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It's about the presidency of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. People try to personalize every institution on this order. It's not about him. A 40-year-old guy could have been a president. A 35-year-old guy could be a president. Anybody could be, as long as you are a citizen of this country and you have all the prerequisite requirement to be president. But the presidency must not be seen to undermine our constitution, to undermine our laws and regulations of how we do things. We have norms, we have traditions. These are things that you should not break. You cannot say that as National Assembly that you have passed a tax reform bill and it has become a tax reform act. And then the one that is gazetted is totally different than what you have passed. And yet we are not seeing any seriousness. Apart from the House of Rep member from Sokoto, who made the objection. What did you see with any of the House members agitated about it? All they care about is that they do not want to offend the president. All they care about is their second-term ticket to come in 2027. These people are not there to serve the interest of our people. And it is clear that if this tax reform act it is not suspended, then we will be riding on illegality. It should be suspended. And for every Nigerian that is calling for the suspension, they are on the right track. I heard that some of our friends and some of our brothers who are in the opposition have gone to court, like Dino Melai. But we must do all we can because see, democracy does not just survive by all these things alone. You need advocacy, you need commitment of people, you need people who will be able to come out and protest peacefully to make sure that certain things that government is doing to force through our throat, we must not allow it to pass. This law will be standing on an illegal operational table if we allow it to continue. Whatever the president have done is a crime. Whatever those who printed it have done is a crime. We must get to the root of it and investigate it so that we will know whether it will certain other acts or laws that have been passed in the past are also being undermined, because this is totally annoying and totally unacceptable by me, and is an irresponsible thing coming from the National Assembly that the certain automaton has not been issued, whether to the Minister of Finance, whether to the CBN Governor, to the Chairman of FIRS, and all these other agencies. They should have been given later to appear before them so that we can see who was responsibly in altering whatever that was passed at the floor of the National Assembly.